What's up YouTube? KS Gun Guy here. Thanks for joining me today as always. So guys, a couple things. You're probably wondering why there's a big pile of guns on the table, none of which are the Hudson, and the title of this video is something like Hudson Buyer Beware or Problems or Issues or something like that. As far as the guns on the table, well, gun porn, but more on a couple of them here in just a moment. And I also want to be very clear about this video on a couple of things. I really didn't want to make this video. I'm not very happy making this video, and I want to make sure everybody understands that I really wanted to love that Hudson. I put out a video on it, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago or so, something like that, depending on when you're watching this video, and it was by and large pretty glowing. However, I did tell everybody that I had some feeding issues with the gun, so I want to share my story about the Hudson and why the Hudson is not on the table right now. So hopefully you'll stay tuned for the entire video and get the full story and the full scoop. So when I picked up the Hudson in early December, I think December 6th, I took it out to the range because I was very excited to shoot it, and I shot it off camera, just wanted to get to know the gun a little bit. And again, I was excited. It was like Christmas time, right? And so I took the gun, and during 250 rounds, I was using MagTech ammo the entire time, in case you're wondering. I had multiple, and we're talking somewhere between 6 and 8 times where the round would actually just stop, and it would always be the first round out of the magazine. It would stop just like this. It would just have a feeding issue. It would not fully seat into the chamber. Now, you guys probably know that I load my magazines to 10 rounds, and that's not a state requirement. That's a me requirement because I'm a little bit OCD, and it's also easier for me to count rounds. So I just do that for the sake of, well, me. And so I had those issues. It was very frustrating. So I took it back to Frontier Justice, where I purchased the firearm and had the gunsmith look at it. Really cool dude. We took it apart. We tried to diagnose it. Now, keep in mind, during this time, I had emailed Hudson to let them know about the issue that I had right when I bought the gun and when I shot it on December 6th or 7th, whenever that was. And Hudson did email me while I was at Frontier Justice with the gunsmith, which was actually pretty exciting. The email simply said, hey, we need more information. And I had provided a fair amount of information to him, I felt like. But I replied back and I said, hey, I'm with my gunsmith. Call me, gave him my number, and said, let's try and knock this out right now. Let's try and resolve this. We can maybe figure it out. Maybe it's a burr in the extractor, or maybe it's you know, any number of things could be happening. I thought we could really knock it out there. I did not hear back from Hudson, which was really disappointing. So we put the gun back together. We cleaned it, although I had already cleaned it very thoroughly. Again, I'm a little OCD. But so the gunsmith took it out to the range with a box of 50 rounds, federal, this time just federal range ammo, and he put those rounds through it, and it worked fine. So we kind of thought, well, maybe it needed to be broken in a little bit, or maybe with the cleaning and the extra taking apart, maybe we worked it out. I mean, any number of things could have happened. So I was pretty excited about that. That was cool. So then I took it back to the range sometime, you know, in the next couple of days to shoot for the video for the Hudson, and everything worked fine. Now, I was shooting S&B ammo with it this time, so I changed up from MagTech. Did not have a single issue. Everything was fine. 250 rounds, it was all good. So I was pretty happy with that, and now at this point, we've got, 550 rounds through it, I think. So put out the video and again talk to you guys a little bit about the feeding issue. Now, I took the gun back to the range, and this time with the Shadow 2, this guy right here, because I wanted to not only capture a lot of shooting footage with the Shadow, but also some with the Hudson to do, and if I could only have one. I like to do those videos, and I thought that'd be a really cool one. And unfortunately, the Hudson had more issues again, and this time I caught some on film. I'm probably showing those right now. So it was feeding issues that time, and I think I shot maybe 150 rounds through it, 180 rounds, something like that. And I had, I don't know, 5 or 6 feeding issues with it. And that time I was using S&B ammo again, and it had been successful before, but this time it wasn't. So very frustrated. I emailed Hudson again, just kind of let him know what the deal was. Didn't hear back from him again. So this time I took the Hudson back to the range, back with the Shadow 2, and also with the 6-hour X VTAC, just to do a little shooting. This was a me shooting, didn't take the cameras, just have a little fun and just do a little plinking. I like to do that occasionally. And so this time the Hudson not only had a couple of feeding issues again, and this time I was using not only S&B, but also Federal and also PNC. C ammo, in case you're wondering. So I was trying to mix it up a little bit. So not only did I have a couple of those feeding issues like this, again, first rounds, but several times I had the same issue mid-shooting, which this was a first. This was very different. Keep in mind, the gun was very clean. It was well lubed. It was well cleaned. I'm OCD. And so not only had those issues, but then we had another new issue. Not only the feeding issues in the middle of shooting, kind of fourth or fifth round, whatever it was, but I had several times where the striker did not reset. So the slide would it would go, it would do its full cycle. Everything was fine. And when it would come back to home, I would pull the trigger and it would be a dead gun. So essentially it was a 37-ounce paperweight. It happened multiple times. And that's when I basically threw my hands up and said, you know what, I'm fed up with this. And so I made an executive decision at that point in time because I had so many failures and so little contact with Hudson. Keep in mind, they have a warranty for their guns. They're supposed to support them. That I decided to take it back to Frontier Justice again, but this time not just to see the gunsmith, who is, again, a really cool dude. I've become a friend of his. But this time to take advantage of a very unusual and unique policy that they have to be able to return a gun within 30 days with your receipt and all the stuff that comes with it to get your full money back as well as tax on a gift card to spend at the store. Never thought about doing that before. I absolutely did not want to do that with the Hudson. I wanted to keep the Hudson basically forever. I really thought that was a forever gun. But I decided to do that, and I actually walked away with the 6-hour X5 and a bunch of ammo and that sort of thing. You guys probably know I've done a video on the X5. I've had it before. It was a gun that got away to recycle and refresh the gun supply for the channel, and that was one that I was really bummed about walking away from. So I brought it back into the fold, and it's going to stay this time for sure. More on that in a later day. But again, so I turn in the Hudson. It's gone. It's not on the channel anymore. And guys, I again want to make sure that I'm very clear. I did not want to do that because when the Hudson was actually working, it was one of the best shooting guns that I've experienced perhaps in my entire life, and I'm not trying to exaggerate here, but it was wonderful. But unfortunately, it had so many problems, and I had basically no contact with Hudson whatsoever, that I just decided, you know what, if the manufacturer is not going to support it, I need to protect myself and my hard-earned money, and walk away from it. Now, ironically, just a few days ago, and we're right at the end of December 2017 right now, Hudson did contact me again. This was after I'd already been to Frontier Justice, and all they said was, we're out of the office right now. We'll be back in the beginning of January, and we'll talk about your issue. You know, guys, that's not enough as far as I'm concerned. They had quite a bit of time to at least get the ball rolling, get it started. I will tell you, if they had said, hey, we don't want to call you and diagnose it, we'd rather you just send it in and let us deal with it, I would have been fine with that. That would have been perfectly fine. Even if I had to pay for shipping to send it back, I would have done that. I'm that much of a sucker. I would have done that just to give them the opportunity to make it right, or to tell me, well, I'm a sucker, and I've got the gun that I've got, there's nothing they can do for it, whatever. Anything would have been better than nothing, but unfortunately they did not live up to what I consider their end of the bargain, or the warranty, or the expectation that I think most of us like to have on the gun manufacturers that we purchase from. So, guys, I wanted to share this story with you because I think it's really important that you know this. Now, the story goes on just a little bit more. I hope you're still hanging on with me for a few moments. There are at least 6 Hudsons in the Kansas City area right now. There are 6 that I know of. 2 of them have been turned in back to Frontier Justice. 2 of them have been sold on the aftermarket already. All 4 of those reporting problems, reporting issues, feeding issues, and striker issues as well, and 2 we're not sure of. But that's of the 6 that I'm aware of, 4 of them having problems. That's not a very good ratio. And then a subscriber of mine, My Life Choices, My Life, I really appreciate you sharing your story as well. He has heard several stories from people that he knows that have had issues with their Hudsons as well. Now, guys, keep in mind, a lot of this is third hand, and so take it all with a grain of salt. take what I'm saying with a grain of salt too, because at the end of the day, you have to make your own choices. But I value the money that I spend on firearms, and I value the money that you spend on firearms too. I mean, I want us all to share in really fun working firearms that we just have a good time with, whether they're tools, they're carry tools, or they're competition tools, or range toys, or whatever they happen to be. We all want to have a good time with them. I do too, and I want you guys to as well. So just wanted to share this story with you. Can't say that you shouldn't go out and buy a Hudson. I would never say that. It's entirely up to you. But I wanted to make sure that I brought this story to you, and the Hudson will no longer be on the table. I hope Hudson is able to work some things out, because I think it's a brilliant idea, and I'd like to see them succeed. I truly would. And perhaps one day I'll revisit that when they're able to work out the stuff they need to work out and have better customer service than what I experienced. But again, guys, sound off in the comments below. I want to hear your comments, any experiences you've had, whether good or bad. Bald and Curious, I hope you have an incredible experience with your Hudson. I hope you do not share in the same experience that I do. Guys, Bald and Curious, be sure to check out his channel. I'll leave a link to that down below as well. Really cool dude. He's got a Hudson and a lot of other stuff as well. So again, sound off in those comments down below. I hope to hear from you. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time.